What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Jason, more Mixology of course. This week's video, we're gonna get back to the rat rack. I know that you guys have seen the building of the new one on the end there, but we haven't put water on it yet. I mean, obviously I have, but we need to put water on that, so that's what this week's video is gonna be. It was just way too long to add it into the construction video for that. So we're gonna do that right now. Shout out real quick to my buddy, John Griffiths. Exotic ball pythons, excuse me. Super nice guy down in Texas. Haven't got anything from him yet, but I'm sure I will. But yeah, so let's get to it. We got to put some water on the racks. They're everybody's nice and healthy, doing really well. I mean, I got babies in every tub, it seems like, just going crazy. So, in fact, even I'll show you guys. This is that new rack that we built a couple weeks ago on the channel. And two of these tubs. This is the new colonies. Two of these tubs have babies already too. So super excited. It's obviously working really well. We're actually to a point now where I've got too many rats, but good problem to have. I'll start freezing them for overflow. But yeah, let's get to the watering. All right, here's what we've got. This is everything we need to do the water. Obviously, the 5-gallon bucket. Any 5-gallon bucket will work. I buy all Ace buckets because I want them to match. But any 5-gallon bucket and a lid. You're gonna want to put a couple of small holes in the lid to let air in. That way it doesn't siphon out and run dry. Now, all of these parts are from reptilebasics.com. Same place I get the heat tape for my snake racks and that. All this stuff. You can buy a rat water kit from Reptile Basics, but there's some stuff in there I don't use. If you're starting from scratch, it might be worth using, but otherwise I'll show you what I've got going on here. So, like I said, 5-gallon bucket, lid. This is from Reptile Basics, is the tank connector. It's just got a valve on it that will hook the line up to. And then obviously this piece comes off, and we're gonna put this through the bucket somewhere towards the bottom and hook the line up. Obviously the hose itself, I just buy a 50-foot roll of this at a time from Reptile Basics. It's the same, it's designed to work with all these fittings. I started using these later on. I didn't do this on my first rack. I've since updated it. This is a quick disconnect. And it's sealed, or no, it's not sealed, excuse me, it's just a quick disconnect. So you put one end of this, you go from here, little piece of hose, one end of this, and then this one will start and go down the length of your rack. That way you can turn the water off at the tank and disconnect this, carry the tank out to refill it. I'll show you all that when it's up and running, when we finish this one. Onto the fittings. So I've got 6 spring-loaded brass fittings. There's a little tiny spring inside, and then obviously the rats just push on it and it lets the water out. 6 of those. 6 carriers or supports or brackets or mounts or whatever you want to call them. This is why I use, part of the reason why I use 1/2-inch mesh. So let's see if you can see this here. This works perfectly to go like that and like that to hold the water, to hold this fitting down basically just like that. Obviously it's not connected because there's no hose on it, but once the hose is connected and it's holding this piece like so, then it's super easy just to go like that, and the rats can get up to it. It works perfectly. I've heard people complain about it, and they're a little finicky to get undone. Obviously, you'll see when we mount those that way, you have to take them off of that metal to get the tub all the way out to clean it. It's not that big a deal in my opinion, and the rats can't screw with it, they can't pull it off, they can't break it. Anyway, so we got 6 of the carriers, 6 of the valves, and then I always get extras, but I've got T's, just T valves, or T fittings rather, and then 90 And the reason why is I don't put a drain at the bottom of my rack because I don't see a point. You know, if something happens and the rack is flooding, the rack's gonna flood whether there's a drain or not. And I don't have drains in every tub. So I run, you'll see when we put together, I run the T at every level except the bottom. The bottom will get a 90 because it'll be the last part of the loop. And then if you need to, for whatever reason, obviously you turn the valve off at the tank, pull the tank up, no more water. So with that all being said, I'm gonna find a place to put you guys down, and I'll kind of walk you through my methodology, my idea about where I put things and how I hide it. You'll see I like to hide all of the tubes behind this front leg so you can't see them, and they'll all have matching little loops. And anyway, I'll show you all that here in just a second. I gotta figure out where to put you guys so you can see and make sure I've got everything I need. So let's go do that now. All right guys, so here we're gonna start at the top, obviously. I always work from the top down on these because it's easier to make the lengths and cuts and whatnot. Off camera, I'll go in and I'll drill the hole in the bucket for the drain, or for the tank valve. I'll do that later, but I'm gonna set this up here where I normally would have it on the rack, just as a, I'll show you, just as a point of reference for length in that. Here, right there. There we go. Anyway, so I always put it towards the back, and it spans these two cross members here and here, just to help support it, the weight in 3 spots. Obviously the tank valve will go right here at the lowest point on the tank. So I'm just gonna set that right there. So first thing I wanna do is install the quick disconnect valve. It doesn't really matter which end is which, the tank and whatnot. I believe, I remember correctly, I have the one, what would be the male side with the O-rings. I think I have it on the rack side. So I need to cut a small length of the hose to go from the valve where it's going to be to about right here, about the cross beam basically. This does not have to be exact at all. It's just going to connect the two. So yeah, we're going to go about that long. Like I said, this part is not at all precise. In fact, most of this tubing stuff is not precise at all. So we're going to take our valve. I got a little piece now. We're going to take the valve, put this on all the way like so, and then we're going to put the quick disconnect at the other end, obviously. And what we've got now is the tank will go like that. So now I can disconnect the rack from the water tank, take the tank down and fill it. From there, I need a piece to go from the other end of the disconnect to the first bay, this area here where our first clip's gonna go. So this one, actually, I said that backwards. This is where the first T comes into play. So think of these T's as just like this. I hope you guys can see that. So this will be where the water comes in from the spot above, either in this case from the tank or from the, if it were down here, this comes in from the shelf above. So water comes in from the source above. Part of the water comes out of this tank into this tub, and the rest of it comes out the bottom and feeds the one below it. So what I need is a piece to go from, and this piece, they need to be about here, obviously. I put them up next to the leg so that I can secure them all to the back of the leg. And I elevate this piece, this tip, if that makes sense, just a little bit above this rail so it's like a natural force of gravity. So I need a little piece, again, of our tubing, about, let's see, about that long. This extra piece now is going to go from the other end of the quick disconnect to the top of this T, like so. And then imagine, if you will, this T was set up ready to go. this quick disconnect would hook up just like that and deliver water to that level. So I'm gonna leave it unhooked for now. Now, as what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna figure out the height that I want this at, and then figure out roughly where I want the valve and the carrier, these pieces, to sit in this rack. Now it's gonna be kind of hard for you to see from up there, but I usually like the valve to be kind of not all the way in the front right corner, but about 3 squares in and 3 squares up, roughly. So it'll go, unfortunately I can't put them in there together because the tube is what holds this in place. So in this one, I'll go about right there and about right there. That's roughly 3 squares in, 3 squares up. Nothing precise at all, does not need to be. So with that there, and this piece would be connected obviously to the tank, but I don't need it to be right now because I can move the tank anywhere I need to fit. I need to go from this valve down here to this T, or this carrier and the spring valve here. So I'm going to make a piece that I think is about the right length. About like this. And it's going to go from the T, but I'm not going to put it on all the way yet, and I'll tell you why here in a second. And then it's going to go to the valve down here, and that's what would hold the valve in so it doesn't fall out. So that looks pretty good actually. If you can see, if I can get in a better position here, that looks pretty good. It's lined up with this corner pretty well. There's a nice natural curve to it, gravity taking effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this apart, and I'm going to make 5 more of these. That way everything flows basically at the same rate. Now this system is not at all a perfect fluid dynamic system by any means, but if you can make these at every level roughly the same size, if they're all fairly close, then it all should flow about the same at every level. You're not going to have added pressure at one that you don't have at another, and so forth. Plus, like we discussed before, I'm OCD and I like them to be matching. So I'm just taking that piece for the shelf, lining them up as close as possible. Got 6 of these. So what we're going to do with these now is we're basically going to take the valve and the carrier, which this one is still connected. Okay, we're going to take the valve and the carrier and a tube, and we're going to put them together. So this valve, the barbed end that the tube hooks up to, goes facing up, obviously. It goes through this top hole. That's so that the rack can get to the bottom. And then this tube slips on over the top of the barb and holds the whole assembly in place like so. So I can take that, and we're gonna put it here again, 2 or 3 squares in, 2 or 3 squares up, somewhere like that. So I'm gonna do all 6 of those real quick, and we'll continue from there. All right, let me zoom you guys out. Come down here with me, and I'll show you where we're at. So, like I said, we got all of them in here now. Got valves and the tube to go to about here, like so. T on that one, here, all the way down, except for the bottom one that's got just the 90. So now the part that we got to do is we got to connect them all. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take And with this piece, you know, about like that, and this one about like that, we're gonna make a piece that's that length. Now, if you remember correctly, when we did the shelves are 10 inches apart, top to top, 10 inches. So theoretically, if this were sitting here and this were sitting here, top to top would be 10 inches, right? Does that make sense? Top of this valve to top of this valve would be 10, but I don't need the top to top. I actually need bottom to top. So I'm gonna cut them all about 9.5 inches. That will compensate for the difference there and fit the two. So here's this. We're gonna fit this on here. I'll just use this piece. So I need to go from there. Oh, need some more. To about like that looks good. So I want to make sure that it's not pulled way down, it's not standing straight up, just something pretty even. And those look pretty good. So I'm going to cut this one about here. And if I, just for the sake of argument, if I measure it, it is just short of 10 inches, just like I figured it would be. So I'm going to go ahead and cut five more of these. That way I've got one for every level, and connect them real quick, and then we'll be about done. One thing I'll show you when we're done is the cable, or the cable management, the tightening of it that I do on everything. So let me cut 5 more of these, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, we got all 6 of these now that connect the levels together. Let's go ahead and throw those in real quick. All right, well, some of you were probably yelling at the screen saying, "Dumb, you made one too many," which I did. Obviously, if there are 6 levels, there's only 5 in betweens. So I have an extra one for inevitably when I build another rack. So you can see these are all tied up together. They look nice. They're not taut, or they're not tight. They're fairly loose. We can go ahead now and put the quick disconnect drain on the top, like so. That'll obviously hook up to the valve here. I'm gonna put the hole in that valve real quick so it's done. And then is what we're gonna do, or is what I normally do after this. I like everything to be nice and tidy so you can't see it from the front. So I ran out of these, so I'll have to get more. I'll do this off camera. But I just use these little wire holders. You can get them at any, Walmart or Radio Shack or whatever. But what I'm going to do is at every level, just below the T, I'm going to slide one of these in, like so, and we're going to connect it to the shelf or to the leg, whichever you'd like. But what this will do is it'll tighten everything down like so, all the way down so it's nice and straight, nice and tight. Looks really good, and peace of mind for me, because this way they can't move. The lines can't move. They can't somehow, potentially end up inside the tub where the rats can chew on them and cause a leak and eventually cause flooding. Any of that stuff, we don't have to worry about any of that if we tidy it all down. So can't get this screw started here, so use a little bit of horsepower. And just anywhere in here, doesn't have to be exact. There we go. And just like that, nice and secure. I'll do that off camera on all 5 levels, with the exception of the bottom. The bottom one I'll have to put the mount above it, above the T, and mount to the wall, because obviously it doesn't go all the way below the shelf. Alright guys, I hope that video helped you guys out. Sorry it was kind of a hard cut there. I realized that the end of what I had filmed with the rack was at the end of the building video, so it would be kind of weird to have it up again for the water video. But yeah, I hope that helped you guys. If you know, if you guys build one, or you know somebody that needs one, again, tag me in it. I've had a couple people tag me on Instagram and showed me that they're building their racks the same way, and that's awesome. That's super inspiring, actually. But updated. By the way, speaking of names, the Desert Ghost girl that we unboxed 2 weeks ago, the Pinstripe Desert Ghost right here, came out of shed. She looks incredible. I don't even know if the camera picks it up, but the texture, the color, everything on Desert Ghost is just insane. And we have decided to go with Jasmine. And the idea behind Jasmine being obviously desert themed, from Aladdin. We told you that most of our stuff, or not most, but a lot of our stuff is character named. So we went with Jasmine, and whatever male we end up getting for her for next year, or whatever males we produce and hold back, the next one will obviously be Aladdin. So that's what we went with. Thanks for everybody for your suggestions. There's some really good ones in there, but that's what the wife wanted, so that's what we went with. So that's gonna do it for me this week. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Tag us in your builds if you do one yourself, at Mixology, hashtag Martini Snake, as always. There is a new merch link, not for John's got his own, but there's a new merch link for us through Teespring now, so now there's no wait at all. You don't have to wait for me to get an order together for the local distributor. Same quality shirts. We have long sleeve now, hoodies, tons of different colors, and coffee mugs. So I'll put that in the description as well, teespring.com/store/Mixology. We appreciate all the support, obviously, and I will see you guys next week. See ya.